Right now, without even realizing it, you are participating in one of the most complex systems ever created by human beings. You are connected, not just to a device, not just to a network, but to a living, constantly moving structure that spans continents, crosses oceans, and binds billions of people into a single, synchronized rhythm. The internet is not something you occasionally use anymore. It is something you live inside. From the moment you wake up, your life begins in connection. Your phone shows messages sent from across the world in real time. Your bank account reflects numbers that represent your effort, your savings, your security, all stored somewhere you cannot physically see. You check directions without thinking, trusting a system to guide you through roads you have never memorized. You work on files that exist nowhere tangible, yet are more important than any physical document you once relied on. This entire experience feels stable, reliable, permanent. But that feeling is an illusion created by consistency. Because when something works perfectly for long enough, you stop questioning it. You stop imagining what happens if it fails. Now imagine that it does, not partially, not slowly, not in a single city or country, completely, globally, instantly. The internet disappears for 24 hours. What follows is not just inconvenience. It is not just disruption. It is the exposure of how modern life truly functions beneath the surface. To understand what happens when the internet disappears, you need to understand what it actually is. Not in technical detail, but in reality.
Welcome. You are watching The Voice of Unknown, and we are now entering into another dimension. Let's begin.
The internet is best understood as the nervous system of the modern world. Just as the human body relies on signals moving between the brain and organs, modern civilization relies on data moving between systems. It carries information, instructions, confirmations, and coordination. Without it, the body does not slow down, it stops responding. The internet is not a cloud floating somewhere above you. It is not abstract, it is physical. It is a massive network of infrastructure made up of cables, servers, routers, and control systems that are constantly communicating with each other. When you send a message or open an app, your request travels through a precise path. It moves from your device to a local router, then into your service provider's network, then through high-capacity fiber lines or submarine cables that connect continents, then into data centers where information is stored and processed, and then all the way back to you. This journey happens in milliseconds, which is why it feels instant. But behind that speed is a delicate chain. Every link in that chain must function correctly for the system to work. If one part fails, there are backup routes. But if the entire system fails, there is nothing left to fall back on. The reason a global shutdown is so devastating is not just because of technology, but because of dependence. The internet is no longer limited to communication or information. It has quietly integrated itself into every major system that supports daily life. When you make a payment today, you are not exchanging money physically. You are initiating a digital confirmation between multiple institutions. When you order food, a chain of systems coordinates preparation, assignment, navigation, and delivery without a single human conversation being required. When you book travel, access healthcare, or even watch entertainment, you're interacting with systems that exist entirely online. Even the smallest conveniences depend on it. Checking the weather, setting reminders, accessing news, listening to music, all of it flows through the same invisible structure. For children, this connection is even more influential.
Think about it this way. A child born in 2007 will never know a world without smartphones. Then you add in the time spent in front of TVs, tablets, computers, and you can see how quickly those screen time hours add up. Well, now researchers want to know how all of this screen time is affecting the brains of our children.
That engagement, learning, and entertainment are heavily tied to digital interaction. A child watching videos, playing games, or interacting with content is not just passing time. Their brain is actively engaged, stimulated, and satisfied. Their attention is structured around constant input. Remove that input suddenly, and their behavior changes immediately.
Perhaps you've seen videos like this appear in your social media feeds lately. The concept is pretty simple. Parents prank their kids by unplugging the child's video game console in the middle of gameplay, and the reactions are viral gold.
I'm getting away! Stop! Stop!
This is the level of integration we are dealing with. The internet is not a layer on top of life, it is woven into life itself. Now imagine the exact moment when everything stops. It is midnight. There is no announcement, no gradual failure, no warning signs. The system simply goes silent. At first, nothing dramatic happens. People continue their routines. They try to send messages and they fail. They restart their devices, assuming it is a local issue. They switch networks, check signals, and wait. But then minutes turn into hours, and the pattern becomes clear. It is not just your device. It is not just your city. It is everywhere. And that is when the first layer of discomfort begins. Payments start failing consistently. Shops cannot process transactions. ATMs stop working because they cannot verify accounts. Even though cash exists inside the machines, it cannot be accessed without digital confirmation. At the same time, communication breaks down. Messaging platforms do not deliver. Calls become unreliable. People cannot check news or updates to understand what is happening. This creates a gap, not just in functionality, but in information. And that gap is what begins to change behavior. As the hours progress, the failure spreads across systems. Banking systems freeze completely. Money still exists digitally, but it becomes unusable. People cannot transfer funds, cannot pay, and cannot access their own resources. This creates immediate stress because money is not just a number. It represents control, security, and stability. Markets stop functioning. Trading systems rely on real-time data and connectivity. Without it, transactions cannot occur. Businesses that depend on continuous operations begin to shut down, not by choice, but by necessity. Logistics systems begin to collapse. Deliveries cannot be tracked. Routes cannot be assigned. Warehouses lose visibility over inventory. Transportation networks that rely on coordination begin to fail, affecting flights, trains, and road movement. Healthcare systems face serious challenges. Doctors lose access to patient records. Monitoring systems that track critical conditions stop functioning properly. Emergency coordination becomes slower and less efficient. At the same time, cloud-based systems go offline. Entire organizations lose access to their own data and tools. Work stops globally, not because people are unwilling, but because the systems that enable work are no longer available. This is not a single failure, it is a chain reaction. As systems fail externally, something equally important begins to happen internally. People start to feel the absence of connection, not just as a practical problem, but as a psychological one. Without internet, there is no constant engagement, no distraction, no immediate access to information. This creates a sense of emptiness that people are not used to.
So the breaking news this morning that many Americans are waking up to a massive internet outage impacting major websites, major apps, gaming platforms, including Amazon, AT&T. Just look at this list. Delta Airlines, Disney Plus, Facebook, Hulu, Snapchat, United Airlines, Venmo, more than even I'm even mentioning there.
Children who rely heavily on digital interaction react quickly. They become restless and irritable because the source of their engagement has been removed. But over time, they begin to adapt. They turn to physical activities, toys, and real-world interaction. Their behavior stabilizes, but the transition is not smooth. Adults experience a different kind of pressure. They feel responsible. They worry about money, work, and communication. The inability to access systems creates stress that builds over time. Relationships also begin to shift. Without digital space to retreat into, people are forced into direct interaction. This can strengthen bonds in some cases, but it can also create tension. Small issues become amplified because people are already under stress. The internet, in many ways, has been acting as a buffer. It absorbs attention, diffuses emotions, and provides escape. Without it, everything becomes immediate and unavoidable. As the shutdown continues, practical challenges become more visible. Cash becomes a major issue. With digital payments unavailable, people turn to physical money. But supply is limited and distribution is uneven. This creates an imbalance where some people have access while others do not. Food supply begins to slow down. Urban areas that rely on regular deliveries face shortages. Flights are grounded, ticketing systems fail, and coordination between locations becomes difficult. Movement slows down significantly. These are not distant possibilities. They are direct outcomes of system failure. By the time 12 hours pass, the world feels different. Not modern, not connected, not predictable. Economic activity slows down significantly. Businesses stop operating. Individuals struggle to maintain routines. Stress levels increase. The biggest problem at this stage is uncertainty. People do not know how long the situation will last or what the long-term impact will be. This lack of clarity creates anxiety that is often more powerful than the problem itself. As evolving human beings, have we truly developed the strength to adapt when something essential suddenly stops working? Or have we slowly trained ourselves to depend so deeply on systems that we no longer control our own responses without them? When the internet disappears, even briefly, it does not just expose a technological gap. It exposes an emotional and behavioral gap within us. Our patience shortens, our thinking becomes reactive, and our ability to function independently begins to weaken. That is not just a systems failure, that is a human limitation. So the real question is this: do we recognize this as a problem that needs solving? And if we do, then where exactly are we in that journey? Are we still in the stage of blind dependence? Or have we begun building real alternatives? Because the invention of the internet gave direction to human progress, but our complete reliance on it has also narrowed our resilience. Progress should not mean losing the ability to function without the very system we created. There must be balance, a world where digital systems exist but do not replace fundamental human capability. A world where we still maintain physical records of what matters, our documents, our memories, our work. Where essential services do not collapse simply because a network is unavailable. Not as a step backward, but as a layer of strength. It is true advancement is not just about building powerful systems. It is about building systems that can fail without breaking us. And maybe that is the real lesson hidden inside this silence. Not fear of losing the internet, but understanding that we should never lose our ability to function without it. Now I want to hear from you. What do you think about this situation? If something like this actually happens, how do you think we can handle it better? What kind of solutions do you believe can realistically work in the real world? Take a moment and share your thoughts in the comments. I will be going through them carefully, and once we have enough meaningful input, I will come back with another video where we break this down again, this time focusing on practical solutions built from your ideas and perspectives. Because real solutions are not created alone, they are built through collective thinking. If you found this video valuable, take a second to support it. Hit the like button so it reaches more people, subscribe so you do not miss what comes next, and share this with your friends, your family, and people around you. Because awareness is the first step towards preparation. And preparation is what makes the difference when things actually go wrong. I will see you in the next one.